Last year, I made a video explaining when was the best time of the year to come to Santorini. And in order to answer that question, one of the main topics I focused on was the crowd. When is it less crowded in Santorini? And my conclusion in that video was the two best months are May and October. But I shot that in late 2021, when the COVID crisis was still looming above our heads a little bit. Now, however, all restrictions have been lifted and we can have a clear picture of the situation. And it looks like Santorini just became even more crowded. And price differences between high season and low season became even more extreme. So here we go for the updated version of when is the best time to come to Santorini. Alright, let's start with the weather. In last year's video, I showed a graph with the evolution of temperatures month by month. Yet, so many people contacted me on Instagram asking questions like, what type of clothes should I bring for this or that month? Or is it worth coming in October? Or is it just too cold and depressing? So in this video, instead of focusing on the temperatures, I'm gonna tell you the general feel, June to September or the proper summer months. And that's not exactly a good thing, because summers in Greece are very hot. Around 30 degrees, but a real feel of at least 35. When you walk around, you'll see pretty much everyone around you covered in sweat. So yeah, June to September, probably too hot to enjoy. Now, before we move on to the other months of the year, I want to briefly explain you something about the heat in Santorini, which I've never mentioned in my other videos, yet it's essential for you to make the best decisions during your stay in Santorini. So, a few days before arriving on the island, you'll probably take your phone out, go to the weather app, and look at two things: the temperatures of the day you'll be there and whether it will be sunny or cloudy or rainy. But it never rains during the summer, so don't worry. But right there, you just made a massive rookie mistake. You overlooked the most important thing, which is the wind. Temperatures during the summer are extremely stable, but on a windy day, it's gonna feel nice and breezy. Still hot, but the wind will definitely help you deal with the heat, while on non-windy days, it's horrible. The dry heat turns into humid heat and it's just gross. So if, like many people, you're gonna plan the activities you do based on the weather forecast, don't look at the temperatures, look at the wind. From 4 Beauforts and up, and here are the equivalents in knots, kilometers per hour and miles per hour, it's gonna feel nice and fresh. Below this though, good luck. But I'm gonna give you a massive pro tip now. What you wanna do is, on windy days, do the sightseeing, visiting the villages, doing the hike and all of that, and on those horrible non-windy days, go on sea excursions, because it always feels much cooler on the sea, so you won't be bothered at all by the humid heat. Plus, guess what? There's no wind, so there are no waves. The sea is super calm, and that's the best moment to go on a boat tour anyway. Now, one exception to everything I just said is Ia. Ia never has a breeze, even on windy days, because it's located on the cliffside facing south. And where does the wind come from in Santorini? North. So the wind comes from here, yet you're here, so it will never reach you. And that's one of the reasons why you should visit Ia early in the morning, before the heat starts building up. Alright, so back to what we were saying, June to September or the hot months. So if you're coming during those months, obviously you're gonna pack summer clothes. But don't forget to take a little sweater or light jacket for the chilly evenings. Now, what about April, May, and October? Well, temperatures are much nicer, around 20 degrees. That means that during the day, it's summer clothes, and then in the evenings, it's long pants and sweaters. And rain-wise, while there's never a single drop of rain from June to September, be aware that May, April, and October might have 2 or 3 days of rain per month. Now, you might have noticed that since the start of this video, I've only talked about those 7 months from April to October. So what about November to March? Well, that's the off season, and I've made a separate video on that, explaining what remains open and what you can still actually do, and you can find that video here. Alright, what about the sea temperature now? What are the best months for swimming? Well, without surprise, it's from June to September. October can be decent for swimming, but only on non-windy days. Otherwise, it will feel a little too chilly. April and May, on the other hand, are not that nice for swimming. The sea is still very cold from the winter, around 17 degrees. But then again, I once had a tour with a family from Alaska who were delighted with the temperature of the sea. So yeah, depending on your standards, you might actually enjoy going for a swim even during those colder months. Oh, and by the way, don't think that this means it's not worth booking a boat tour in April or May. Sure, you won't enjoy the swimming breaks the same way, but the highlights of these tours are not the swimming part anyway, but rather the insane views you have from the inside of the Caldera Bay. Alright, let's talk about the crowds now. In last year's video, I was saying how the crowds are not just in July and August, but also in June and September. Well, you can also add May and the first half of October from now on. Sorry, but it's actually easy to avoid all the overcrowded places in Santorini. Now, I've already made a video on this topic, which is here, and you should watch it if you haven't already. But on top of what I say in that video, I have another huge pro tip. Schedule your days based on how many cruise ships will be there. For this, you can use the free website Cruise Mapper. I'll leave a link down below, and click on Schedule to see for every single day of the year how many cruise ships will be docked in Santorini. As a rule of thumb, up to 2 simultaneous cruise ships, you don't really feel the difference on the island. From 3 to 4 ships, the island is definitely busier. 5 and up, the island is packed. So, if possible, when booking your stay in Santorini, have a look at Cruise Mapper first and try to come during quieter days. If you don't have that kind of flexibility, no problem, but then make sure that for every single day with 5 cruise ships or more, you stay away from Firaenia, because that's where the majority of the cruise people go. Instead, on such days, go on a boat tour, visit museums, archaeological sites, rent a car to drive around the island. Anything as long as you're far away from Firaenia. So there you go. If you apply this tip plus what I say in my other video, you'll be dodging 90% of the crowds, even in the busiest months. Oh, and one more thing about crowds. I had many people joining my tours telling me, oh, we booked our stay here during weekdays in order to avoid the busy weekends. But we see it's very crowded also during weekdays. So just to make it clear, there's no such thing as weekdays and weekends in Santorini. It's crowded 24/7. Every day is a Saturday. Also, nothing really closes on Sundays except for supermarkets and some pharmacies. All tourist shops, boat excursions, museums, all of that, it's open every day of the week. Alright, let's talk about prices now. And more importantly, hotel prices. Why is it more important? 2 reasons. 1, hotels are what makes Santorini very expensive. Apart from that, restaurants, tours, it's not much more expensive than anywhere else. But the hotels, that's where your wallet is gonna bleed. And second reason why it's important to focus on hotels, their prices fluctuate way more aggressively than any other sector. Which means that's where you can save a huge chunk of money if you know when to book. So, I analyzed in details the prices of 10 different hotels, and this is the result. The prices you see here are for a double room with the Caldera view and the private pool. For cheaper accommodation without the view, this would be how prices go. Now be careful, I looked up these prices in November for the next year. So these are the early bird prices. If you're only gonna book 2 or 3 months prior, don't be surprised to see higher prices than this. Alright, so what can we see on this graph? Well, first of all, the contrast between high season and low season is pretty crazy. High season is nearly 3 times more expensive. Even I was shocked when I realized this as I was making this graph. The second thing we can see is this. If you thought that coming to Santorini in June or September would make you save a lot of money compared to July and August. Not really, no. And a third thing I want you to notice on this graph is this. See how steep the price fluctuations are? This is really crazy. It means that if you come early October, you'll nearly still pay the same price as for August. But if you come 3 weeks later, the weather is still as nice, but you only pay a fraction of that price. So let's answer the big question now. When is the best time to come to Santorini? Well, in my opinion, it's April and somewhere from mid-October to mid-November. Because 1, the weather is very decent. 2, prices are at their very lowest, and as we just saw, it makes a huge difference. And 3, you avoid the massive crowds. And I can't emphasize enough how much this matters. Now, a few things. First of all, so far in this video, it's the first time I mentioned November. So what exactly should you be expecting during that month? Well, the first half of November is the transition period between high season and low season. So many places places are still open, mainly because cruise ships are coming all the way until November the 15th, and after that, everything dies instantaneously. The bad thing about November is that the vast majority of tours will no longer be operating. They all stop late October. So if these tours are important for you, you should come second half of October and not the first half of November. Second thing to keep in mind, coming in April or late October probably means you wanted to swim. Now, if you've watched some of my other videos, you know Santorini isn't the best island for swimming anyway, so it's not a huge deal. But if you had in mind to come to Greece for some island hopping and visit other islands with beautiful beaches, then no, I would not recommend April and October. I would do June or September instead. Actually, if possible, separate Santorini from the island hopping trip. Come 1 year for island hopping, let's say in June, and then on another year come back to Santorini and do that in April or late October. Speaking of April, there's a very special event happening every year in Santorini, which you can attend for free. I'm working on a video to tell you all about it, and if it's ready, you can find it here. And this is my Instagram page in case you want to join my tours in Athens. And that's where I'm gonna leave it. Thanks so much for watching, and see you in the next one. Bye.